Hello and welcome to week 3 of ADHD Awareness Month. And today, well, the whole week, we're focusing on ADHD at work, so in the workplace, and also in the context of entrepreneurship. So yesterday, we spoke about barriers, like how boundaries are really important when you're an entrepreneur and you're building a business. And today, we're going back into the workplace, and we're going to be talking about a very important topic, navigating performance reviews with RSD. And I've got one of our coaches, Eleni Spiritus, joining us today.
Yes,
From
hi.
US.
Yes, from New York, and this is a very timely topic, and especially in the as it relates to RSD, Rejection Sensitivity Dysphoria. We know that this is often the symptom of ADHD that can be the most difficult to overcome. That certainly I see a lot of with my clients, and I'm sure Stephanie as well, in across every industry, every age group, everything. RSD is big.
Yeah, and as we were saying earlier, Lenny, with RSD, that rejection sensitivity. So for those that don't understand that term, rejection sensitive dysphoria. Dysphoria comes from a Greek word that means crippling pain. So people with ADHD have got this hypersensitivity to rejection, to criticism, and that's perceived or actual. So even when it's not actual, it's not actual criticism, an ADHD will perceive it as criticism. And as such, right, what do we see, Eleni? What do we usually see with people with ADHD because of this?
Well, what we know, just a little bit of the backstory, is that especially in the workplace, if this is a job or a task, I mean, whether it's at work or at school or whatever, that an ADHD or has had, is particularly authentically interested in, they're going to take a lot of pride in the work that they're doing. They're going to invest a lot of their emotional energy. They're going to hyper focus. It's going to be a really great outcome, whatever it is they're focused toward. So that, coupled with the perception that somebody might be finding fault or criticism, rightly or wrongly, is really at the core of what we're talking about. And as that can look in the workplace, I think is what Stephanie can sort of expand upon.
Yeah, like you said, what's really important for a lot of ADHDers, particularly, the kind of workaholic type ADHDers, the work is their identity.
Yeah.
It's because we talk about how ADHD is so many negative messaging that we have that lead to very negative self-talk, very low self-esteem, low self-worth. And unfortunately, a lot of ADHDers do really make their identity, and their contributions to the workplace, right, their worth. And that's the problem. Yes. So if you're measuring your worth by, what you're contributing and how you're being recognized at work, then this is going to be, like, in terms of what's at stake, we're talking the biggest stakes, aren't we, Ellen?
Absolutely. Absolutely. And to have that sort of additional negative message, again, a perceived negative message, because again, what is actually being presented and what is being perceived, as we know, can be two really, really different things. This can be a really big challenge for an ADHDer to overcome, especially not knowing the dynamic with the supervisor or the HR department or wherever that feedback is coming from.
That's another really important point, isn't it? Actually, it's not just the performance, the fact of being reviewed. Your performance is being reviewed, which is very much one of the most unsafe situations RSD, ADHD can be in, right? That judgment, the fear of judgment is like, the worst. But also, as you said, if the person that's providing the feedback, i.e. your manager, and we know that a few tense relationships, a lot of ADHD employees come to us, and there's usually a bit of a breakdown in the manager-employee relationship. If it's that manager given the feedback, not only do we have, the judgment issue, but there's a sense of anger and unfairness. And, it's even kind of more loaded, isn't it? Have you noticed?
Absolutely. And that sort of resentment can creep in and, sort of compounding on the self-esteem and the perception of their own self-worth. And then it just kind of goes from there, and it manifests, and it can really become something, far greater than simply a bad performance review or a couple of negative comments. That can really sort of sow the seeds of some distrust, some resentment, some very negative self-talk that it's really hard to get out from behind.
Yeah, so we talk about, there's a book called Crucial Conversations, and we've been talking about this for several years now. This book talks about like certain kind of principles that to keep in mind and techniques you use for crucial conversations. So conversations when stakes are high. And we've got this theory that because of RSD, right, for an ADHD, every conversation is a crucial conversation. Now, but this is next level crucial. This is absolutely kind of crucial. And so the book very much talks about that need to keep the communication safe, to kind of contribute to the shared pool of understanding, and the principles of kind of seek to understand, then be understood is so key. And again, this is where the coaching approach, right, it comes to the fore. And this is something that we train managers to do, because as we know, Lenny, right, as coaches, and coaching lots of people with ADHD, it's key to keeping that communication safe. Like what do you see when you're coaching employees with ADHD? How does that coaching approach keep?
We always try to come at ADHD from a strengths-based perspective. So sort of reminding clients of that, I think, is just really the first point and the most crucial point to remind them of. And their work, it is not about compromising their work or their self-worth or anything personal. And sort of recognizing that right off the bat and beginning the conversation from a more objective space is really the only way that I believe a performance review or some constructive criticism can be taken in the spirit that perhaps it was offered.
Yeah, it is. It's taking that coaching approach, and like you said, kind of big fig. We talk about beginning in kind of gratitude, finishing gratitude, and very much using what they call, I think it was Dr. Hallowell that came up with this, the antidote, the opposite of rejection sensitive dysphoria is recognition responsive euphoria. So
Yes.
yeah, it's the antidote. It's what, as parents with kids with ADHD, same with teachers, same with managers, right?
Yes.
In terms of what we're talking about here. But like you said, and like we do in coaching, we start off, what went well, what wins did you have this week? Because where focus goes, that energy flows. So
Yes.
that's going to go a long way, isn't it? If you begin on that foot.
Absolutely, absolutely. And remembering that the ADHD brain is fueled by that authentic interest. So hopefully employees are in a job where they can thrive, but that's not always the case. And recognizing that in a lot of instances, we are asked to perform tasks or assignments that are going to be a challenge to get through, let alone complete to maybe the degree we have in our own minds that they should be. And that too is another sort of mental barrier that is often really, really hard to get through. Why are we avoiding something? Why do we have such a hard time getting started? That's a whole nother, session that we can delve into, but certainly it all goes to what we want to believe is going to be a best reflection of our abilities.
Yeah, and we're very big on fairness, aren't we? And this is the other thing. If an ADHD feels like it's unfair, or things haven't been understood, their efforts haven't been recognized, because with a lot of our ADHDers, particularly those, performance management is the whole. That's another level up from your performance review. That's a whole nother series of webinars.
Yes.
That one, navigating that on both sides. We've got a lot of experience on that as well, and see both sides of that equation. And yeah, this is very, very tense territory. You've got to navigate it as safely as you can. And again, the coaching approach, which very much is all about leading with compassion and curiosity.
Yes.
Compassion and curiosity. And we always say never assume. And this is where the performance reviews, particularly the performance management reviews, go wrong, is that if the manager doesn't have an ADHD lens or an RSD lens, if they don't understand the difficulties, and they're assuming, and that that these things that the ADHD hasn't been able to do, right, from a neurotypical lens. Well, yeah, you can imagine, how would an ADHD, how would you probably seen this and coached people around this? Yeah, how does that feel for the ADHD?
Yeah,
Being
and I think that's why awareness, especially on the part of managers and HR departments, is so crucial to give them the understanding that they can extract, wonderful work from all their employees, but in the ADHD space, through that lens, this is what it's going to take to get that from someone who might have this RSD. The curiosity might be, lacking for certain projects, but recognizing all of these pieces and how they can contribute to someone's performance is really something we also delve into in coaching.
Yeah, it's key. So we're talking, just recapping that then. Yeah, the importance of understanding, if you're a manager, HR, being able to look through that ADHD lens, but even more so the RSD lens, and knowing how to navigate these kind of conversations in safely. So being able to take more of a coaching approach to these conversations, and very much trying to create those opportunities of recognition, responsive euphoria.
Yes.
But yeah, and in the meantime, if you don't know ADHD as much as you should, whoops, apologies, then again, taking a coaching approach is the best approach to take, because by leading with curiosity, right, you're not going to be assuming or saying something that, clearly shows to that ADHD employee that you don't get it. Because it's
Yes.
isn't that when all the problems?
Exactly. Yeah. Especially if you feel misunderstood, unheard, that can be where things really start to go sideways.
Yeah. And then on a final note, what I've noticed, again, talking about performance management reviews now, in performance management, I can say confidently, every single ADHD employee that has come to us for coaching that's in performance management, they are and were the top performers, the hardest working, most dedicated, the ones that are working, really late at night, all weekend to catch up, to not drop the ball. Like, they are trying so hard, and actually they're going the extra mile for the organization's clients. These are stellar performers.
Yes.
These are, you don't want to lose these employees, and yet somehow they've ended up in performance management, and it's such a loss, a massive loss to them, obviously, in terms of their potential, but the organization, because when they're understood and when they're put in the right role and those barriers are removed and that support is there through, ADHD coaching, and the managers have been trained in terms of supporting those ADHDers, they will be like kind of the
Sky's
highest.
The limit.
Yeah, generating. Yeah, it just doesn't make sense. So please, I'll plea to you, everyone, all managers, HR. Yeah, if you haven't already, get some ADHD awareness training from, obviously, ideally Ascend ADHD. But yeah, that training, staff-wide, organization-wide, but very much the specific communication, RSD, navigating RSD safely, training for your managers, and then having your ADHD employees coach. So they can, the more they understand their ADHD, their needs, and how to meet them, right, then they're going to be able to communicate that to you, and you're going to be able to get that in place for them. It's the whole ecosystem, isn't it, Lenny?
It certainly is. And just to underscore that RSD isn't limited to this space, this performance review, work product, whatever. RSD is sort of hitting everybody from all angles, I suppose, whether it's social media or, your phone or however it is. And especially, this generation that's sort of grown up with a phone in their hand, the opportunities for these negative messages and these reminders of what they're not doing are all around. So just being, more attuned to that can also help understand what's happening in the workplace.
Yeah, exactly. Compassion, curiosity. Goes a long way. So thank you, Eleni, and thanks for joining us.
Thank you, Stephanie. Yes, indeed. Thank you all for joining us.
Yeah, very important conversation. And tomorrow we'll be speaking about delegation without disaster. So do tune into that. And we look forward to seeing you at 1 p.m. tomorrow. Thank you.
Thank you.